Life has a way of bringing people together in the most unexpected places. In a sterile hospital hallway, amidst the chaos of chasing three giggling toddlers, Michael Preston never imagined he'd find love again, especially not in the eyes of a woman doctors had given just months to live. But sometimes, the most beautiful stories begin where hope seems lost. If this journey touches your heart, please consider liking this video and subscribing to our channel for more incredible true stories that remind us of the power of human connection. The sound of tiny shoes slapping against the polished hospital floor echoed through the corridor as Michael raced after his 3-year-old triplets. They had escaped during what should have been a routine checkup, their infectious laughter trailing behind them like breadcrumbs. Emma. Ethan. Ellie. Michael called, his voice a mixture of exasperation and amusement. Being a single father to triplets for the past 2 years had taught him that parenting was equal parts marathon and sprint. The triplets, a whirlwind of energy with matching chestnut hair and mischievous grins, had taken advantage of the moment Michael had turned to fill out paperwork. They scattered in different directions, a tactical maneuver they'd perfected since learning to walk. Michael spotted Emma's pink sneaker disappearing through a doorway and lunged after her, nearly colliding with a nurse in scrubs. "Sorry," he called over his shoulder, his focus solely on preventing his children from disrupting the entire pediatric wing. When he finally caught up, bursting through the doorway, he wasn't in a child-friendly examination room with colorful walls and animal posters. Instead, he found himself in a private room where a young woman sat upright in bed, and 4 drip connected to her arm, a book open on her lap. She looked up, startled by the sudden intrusion, first at Michael, then at little Emma who had climbed halfway onto her bed. "I found a princess, Daddy," Emma announced triumphantly. The woman, pale with short blonde hair that was clearly growing back after treatments, broke into a smile that transformed her entire face. Despite the evident signs of illness, her green eyes sparkled with life. "I'm so sorry," Michael stammered, mortified. "Emma, come here right now." "It's okay," the woman said, her voice soft but steady. "I don't mind the company." She closed her book and extended her hand toward Emma. "Hello there. I'm Sarah." Before Michael could apologize further, the other 2 triplets tumbled into the room, having followed their sister's trail. "Are you sick?" Ethan asked bluntly, staring at Sarah's 4. "Ethan." Michael scolded, but Sarah laughed, a genuine laugh that seemed to brighten the sterile room. "I am," she answered honestly. "But not the kind you can catch." Michael gathered his children, preparing to retreat, but something in Sarah's expression stopped him. Loneliness, perhaps, or a hunger for normalcy that the hospital couldn't provide. "We should go," he said reluctantly. "Do you have to?" Sarah asked, and in those 4 words, Michael heard a story of isolation that resonated with his own. "We could stay a few minutes," he found himself saying. "If you're sure we're not bothering you." That accidental meeting lasted almost an hour. The triplets, normally shy around strangers, warmed to Sarah immediately. She taught them a hand-clapping game and listened with genuine interest as they explained, in their 3-year-old logic, why dinosaurs would make excellent pets. Michael learned that Sarah was 32, just 2 years younger than himself. She had been diagnosed with an aggressive form of leukemia 8 months ago. The treatments had been brutal, and the prognosis was uncertain at best. She had come to terms with her mortality in ways most people never have to consider until old age. 6 months, she told him quietly when the children were distracted by the television mounted on the wall. "That's what they're giving me now, but I've decided that's just their opinion." There was no self-pity in her voice, only a quiet determination that left Michael speechless. As a man who had spent the past 2 years since his wife's death in a car accident just trying to keep his head above water, Sarah's courage was humbling. When they finally left her room, Michael hesitated at the door. "Would it be okay if we visited again?" he asked, surprising himself. Sarah's smile could have lit up the darkest night. "I'd like that very much." What began as weekly visits soon became a regular part of their lives. Michael brought the triplets to see Miss Sarah every few days. She helped Emma practice her letters, built block towers with Ethan, and told fantastical stories that had Ellie begging for just one more. For Michael, these visits became something he looked forward to with an intensity that both confused and frightened him. Sarah was dying, the doctors had been clear about that, yet he found himself falling in love with her quiet strength, her ability to find joy in small moments, and the way she connected with his children as if she had known them all their lives. 3 months after they met, Sarah was released from the hospital. The treatments hadn't cured her, but they had bought her time. How much, no one could say. She moved back to her small apartment, determined to live whatever life she had left on her own terms. Their relationship evolved cautiously. Michael was terrified of what loving Sarah might mean, for himself, for his children. The prospect of another loss seemed unbearable. Sarah, too, held back, unwilling to burden Michael and the triplets with the inevitable grief her death would bring. "They've already lost one mother," she told him one evening as they sat on her balcony, the children asleep inside. "I can't let them get attached only to leave them too." "I think it's too late for that," Michael said softly. "They already love you. And so do I." The words hung between them, honest and frightening in their vulnerability. Sarah's eyes filled with tears. "That's not fair to any of you." "Maybe not," Michael agreed. "But since when is love about fairness?" Their first kiss was gentle, tentative, a promise neither was sure they should be making. As autumn turned to winter, Sarah's health fluctuated wildly. There were good days when she could join them for outings to the park or help bake cookies in Michael's kitchen. There were also days when she couldn't leave her bed, when the pain was too intense and her body too weak. Michael adjusted his work schedule as a graphic designer to be with her as much as possible. The triplets, now 4 years old, accepted the changes with remarkable resilience, bringing their favorite toys to help Miss Sarah feel better on her worst days. In January, against all medical expectations, Sarah's condition stabilized. It wasn't remission, her doctors were careful not to use that word, but it was a reprieve, a gift of time they hadn't dared hope for. "Move in with us," Michael suggested one night after the children were asleep. They sat at his kitchen table, mugs of tea growing cold between them. "I know it's fast, but time feels different now. I don't want to waste a single day we could have together." Sarah looked around the cozy home Michael had created for his children, toys scattered across the living room floor, crayon drawings taped to the refrigerator, the organized chaos of a family. "Are you sure?" she asked. "This isn't just pity." Michael took her hands. "This is the opposite of pity. This is me being selfish enough to want every moment with you that I can get." Spring brought new hope. Sarah moved into Michael's home, bringing few possessions but filling the space with her presence. The triplets delighted in having her there all the time, and for a while, it was possible to pretend they were simply a normal family. But reality couldn't be held at bay forever. By summer, Sarah was back in the hospital. This time, the doctors spoke in terms of weeks rather than months. It was during one of those dark nights, when the hospital corridors emptied of all but the most essential staff, that Michael made his decision. Sitting beside Sarah's bed, watching her sleep, he realized that some loves are worth the pain they bring. When she woke, he was still there, holding a small box in his hands. "I know what you're going to say," he began before she could speak. "That it doesn't make sense. That it will only make things harder. That we should protect ourselves and the kids from more grief." Sarah watched him silently, her eyes reflecting the soft light from the monitors beside her bed. "But here's the thing," Michael continued. "I don't want to look back and regret not having done this. I don't want to tell our children, because they are ours now, Sarah, all 3 of them, that I was too afraid to make you my wife, even for a little while." He opened the box, revealing a simple silver ring. "Will you marry me, Sarah? Not because you're sick, but because I love you. Because the triplets love you. Because whatever time we have, I want us to be a family in every way possible." Tears slipped down Sarah's cheeks. "You know I might not have long." "I know," Michael said. "And I'm still asking." They were married 2 weeks later in the hospital chapel, Sarah in a pale blue dress she could just manage to stand in, Michael in the only suit he owned. The triplets served as ring-bearers and flower girl, solemn in their understanding that this day was important, even if they couldn't fully grasp why. Against all odds, Sarah came home again. Summer turned to fall, fall to winter. Each day was a gift they never took for granted. There were difficult conversations with the children, age-appropriate explanations about why Sarah was sick and what might happen. There were good days they celebrated and bad days they endured together. On their first wedding anniversary, Sarah was still there. Weaker, but present. They had a picnic in the living room, the triplets helping to spread a blanket on the floor, arranging sandwiches cut into stars and hearts. "I wasn't supposed to be here for this," Sarah whispered to Michael as they watched the children play. "Every day has been borrowed time." "Not borrowed," Michael corrected. "Given. And I'm grateful for each one." 2 months later, Sarah slipped away peacefully in their home, surrounded by the family who had found her by accident and loved her by choice. The grief was profound, but so was the gratitude. In the years that followed, Michael would tell the triplets stories about their second mother, how brave she was, how she had taught him to live fully even when afraid, how she had chosen to love them knowing their time together would be short. As the children grew, they carried pieces of Sarah with them. Emma inherited her love of books, Ethan her patient perseverance, Ellie her ability to find humor in difficult situations. And Michael carried the knowledge that sometimes the greatest loves are the ones we never see coming, the ones that enter our lives through wrong doors and change everything. Sometimes, when the triplets ask about the woman in the photographs on their walls, Michael tells them about that first day in the hospital, when they ran into the wrong room and found exactly where they were meant to be. Life rarely gives us the endings we hope for, but it often gives us the people we need, even if only for a while. In Sarah's final letter to him, found after her passing, she had written, "Some people search their whole lives for the kind of love we found by accident. Don't waste time asking why it had to end, just be grateful it happened at all." And he was. Every single day. If this story moved you, please take a moment to like this video and subscribe to our channel. Your support helps us continue sharing stories of hope, love, and resilience that remind us all of the unexpected ways our lives can be transformed. Remember that even in our darkest moments, the light of connection can find us, sometimes in the most unlikely places.